Hello again, guys. Hello again, everybody. How is everybody doing? Hope everybody's having a fabulous evening. Welcome again. This is Church of Investments again. And we are here. We are going to continue with the reading of the book, The Atonement Child. Now, this book has been quite riveting. We started reading this book. Oh, hold on, dear people. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. All right. So we are going to continue with the reading of the Atonement Child. For those of you who are just coming in, if you if you have not yet discovered what we are doing here, this book is a novel that I accidentally came upon this novel actually, and we have been reading this novel now for the past 2 weeks or so. We have been reading it, and it is quite fascinating, very interesting, and it is about a young woman who had all her life planned out in front of her, being engaged, had saved herself for marriage and all this good stuff. And then while she was at college, she was violated, and somebody violated her sexually, and then she's now pregnant. And with her being pregnant, now the conflict begins, because as a Christian, it is abhorrent. Abortion is detested. It is not encouraged in the Christian doctrine at all. And her parents have instilled that in her from she was a child. And now she finds herself in this predicament, and she doesn't know what to do. Well, her parents are at odds. There's great conflict in the household because her dad is insisting that she gets the abortion. Her mom is being supportive, and she wants her to have the abortion. But then there comes her grandmother, and her grandmother is starkly opposed to the abortion, and so the poor young woman, she's at her wit's end, and so she decided to leave her parents' home. She has left. She's living in a motel. She has found a job in a little diner. She hasn't even seen the doctor. She hasn't even gone to see a prenatal doctor. So she is just out there in the world. A child who was raised quite sheltered. Now she's out there on her own, young, pregnant, and without the love and support of her family or the father of the child. And this has made her very, very uncomfortable. But in the last chapter that we read, it seems like she was gaining a lot of hope. You know, we saw where she had gone from being so despondent that she had contemplated unaliving herself. Now, she's in her second trimester, and she has developed a lot of grit, in which she has decided that she's not going to have the abortion. She's going to keep the baby, and comes what may, she is going to have the baby. Well, better her than me. Better her than me. But we are going to support Diana. Whatever Diana's decision is, we are with her on it. Her friend Joe, however, has come from college, and he's driven all the way to California to go see her. When he got to her house, though, she had already left. He didn't stop until he found her. So now the two of them are having conversations pertaining to the child and Dinah's health and the care that Dinah needs. So when we read some more, we will find out what the relationship between her and Joe will develop into, if anything, and how her parents are coping with the fact that her circumstances have driven a wedge between them, and that wedge has gone so deep as to separate them from their only child. Let us continue with the reading. But before we do that, hold on a second there. Let me do this. Okay. Okay, so let us continue with the reading of the Atonement Child by Francine Rivers. They're such beggars, Dinah said, looking out the restaurant window and smiling as she watched the sea lions pop up and bark near a fishing boat. Mom and Dad and I stayed at the Arborlight a few years ago. They barked all through the night. Doesn't look like they're getting much. I think they manage more than they share. Look how big that one is. The waitress delivered 2 bowls of steaming clam chowder. At Dinah's request, Joe said the grace. Mmm, Joe said after his first spoonful. It's as good as you said it'd be. They ate in companionable silence, enjoying the view of Neuer Bridge, the sea beyond, and the fishing boats moored along the river. Dinah tore off a piece of sourdough French bread and began to butter it. How's Ethan? Joe had known the question would come up sooner or later. Oh, he's okay. Just okay? Did you lose his class standing? Did he lose his class standing? She knew how hard he had worked to be the best. No, he graduated with honors. Dean Abernathy asked him to give the commencement speech. It was a good one. He based it on Timothy and retaining the standard Christ had given us. Grimacing at the edge of his voice, he dipped his spoon into the chowder again, hoping he'd leave the subject of Ethan alone. Dinah sensed something in his silence. She knew Joe was withholding something. Lowering her eyes, she continued eating her chowder. She had the baby to think about now. She couldn't afford to lose her appetite. She would finish her meal before she asked any more questions. Joe finished first and sipped his coffee. He knew she was distracted, and he knew why. What am I going to tell her, Lord? That Ethan waited 3 weeks before finding another prospective bride? How's that going to make Dinah feel? Don't let her ask about him, God. Please. Dabbing her lips, Dinah put the napkin on the table. She leaned back slightly and looked at him. Go ahead and tell me. He put his mug of coffee down slowly. Tell you what? Don't play dumb. He looked away, staring out over the water of the Neuer River. Jesus. Hasn't she been hurt enough? He's going out with someone. Dinah sat quietly, waiting for the pain to come. She expected it to arrive in waves, pressing her down beneath the onslaught until she drowned. It didn't happen. The news didn't hurt as much as she had expected. In fact, it barely hurt at all. Other concerns rose instead. Is she a Christian? Joe looked at her, studying her intently. No tears. Yes. Is she nice? Yes. Pretty? Yes. She saw the darkening in his eyes. Don't be angry for me, Joe. It's all right. Is it? She smiled. It was bound to happen. Girls were always vying for Ethan's attention. You know that better than I do. I was always amazed he chose you. I was amazed he let you go. She was touched by his quick defense. Thank you, Joe. The waitress came with the check. It's on me, Dinah said, before Joe could take it. Why don't I follow you back to your place? Joe said, pulling back her chair and helping her struggle into her jacket. You can leave your car and we can take a drive around town. You can show me where you work, where you go to church, where you hang out. Dinah laughed, wondering what he would make of her place. Cozy, he said when she ushered him in. No leaks or water stains on the ceiling. A good lock on the door. The motel room was clean and simply furnished, with a queen-sized bed, a dresser, 2 side tables, a television in the corner, and a table by the sliding glass windows. The bed was made. The drapes were open to allow the sun to stream in, and a worn Bible was open on the side table. He noticed the hot plate on the vanity counter. Cans of Campbell's soup were stacked beneath the mirror, along with a box of saltine crackers, 2 red delicious apples, a small jar of peanut butter, a banana, and a bottle of multiple vitamins. The manager had been very kind to me, she said as they went back out and she locked the door. I helped with the laundry and he keeps my rent at winter rates. They drove to Marianne's first. Charlie's sister was working and greeted her with a warm smile. Hey, Dinah! Harvey called for the counter, where he was sitting with 2 of his friends, both of whom had become regulars over the past week. Who is the gentleman? He asked. Oh, poor Dinah. A friend, she said, and made introductions all around. She took Joe back into the kitchen to meet Charlie. Leaving Marianne's, they walked along Main Street. Dinah told him the history of the town. Sitting on a bench, they watched the skunk train come in from Wiltis, disgorging its tourists. They walked up to North Franklin and the antique stores and stopped in at Shacks for coffee and a fresh-baked apple fritter. What are you going to do about your parents? Joe said, finally, knowing they had to talk about it. You want me to call them? I'll call Joe. I don't want to put you in the middle of all of this. You can't make it here alone. Why not? For one thing, you haven't got the money for proper medical care. For another, what are you going to do when the baby comes? You won't be able to work. She turned her head away. I haven't looked that far ahead. It's not that far, Dinah. Only 3 more months. So now, guys, Dinah is 6 months pregnant. And what a dilemma. Then I guess I'll have to think about it pretty soon. She didn't want to talk about it now. Time enough tomorrow when he was gone. God would take care of her. Joe wasn't going to leave things as they were. There's a free clinic in Berkeley, he said, but Berkeley's a long way off. I have a 2-room apartment. She looked at him in surprise. What are you suggesting? I move in with you? Yes. Joe, you can have the bedroom. I'll bunk down in the living room. Joe? Now hear me out. Hear me out. I am not leaving you here on your own. Like it or not, we need to settle this today. I'm not going to let you have the baby all by yourself in that hotel room. I'll live up here if I could, but my class has started, and the job I have lined up is connected to my attendance at the university. Joe, it's Berkeley with me, or San Francisco with your parents. She winced as she thought of facing them again. Joe took her hand and held it firmly in both of his. You came up here because you didn't know what to do, right? Now you know. You are going to have the baby. You needed time alone before the Lord. You had that. You can have it anywhere you go. You know what he wants of you now, Dinah. You don't need to hide anymore. He was right, but her heart trembled at the thought of going home. Oh, God, she said softly, closing her eyes. She had more choices to make than he knew. He was assuming she would keep the child, but should she? Could she be the parent the child needed? And what of her life? Her plans. She had never thought she'd be a single parent, or a parent at all, for years to come. How could she provide for a child and herself? One problem seemed to roll into a dozen others. Be not anxious about tomorrow, the Lord said. I will not be anxious. I will take things one day at a time. I will. Which is it going to be, Dinah? I'd rather live with you than go home, she said with a weak smile, and then shook her head. But it wouldn't be right. What would be wrong with it? People would assume I'm having your child, Joe. So what? I'm no skin off my nose. She blushed. We're Christian. We have to care what people think. They're parents of wrongdoing, remember? I'm not going to move in with you and have people think we're living in sin. What sort of witness would that be? Believe me, Dinah, nobody cares, especially in Berkeley. I could walk down University Avenue in a dress with my hair dyed blue, and no one would blink twice. She gave a soft laugh and fell silent, solemn. What about my parents? You know them better than I do. They'd mind, Joe. They'd make assumptions. I wouldn't want them thinking ill of you. Okay, then. Then it's San Francisco. Oh, Joe. Don't. Oh, Joe, no. Give me a week to think about it. No way. 2 minutes after I leave, you'll take off again. No, I won't. Yeah, right, he said glumly. He'd probably be combing the Oregon coast for her in a week, or maybe she'd head for the woods this time. The High Sierras, the Grand Tetons, or the Misty Olympics. Lord, is this the way you are answering my prayer to see the country? He asked wryly. Having me chase after Dinah? I promise, Joe. I promise. He looked at her and watched the endearing smile light her face. Don't soft soap me. You can take my roots with you if you like. Her mouth tipped ruefully. Don't think I won't, he said. Joe checked into the motel where Dinah was living. He figured he could stay another day before heading back to the Bay Area. By then, he hoped Dinah would make up her mind. Dinah rang his room at 6. I'm going to be working this evening. Maria has the flu, and Concepcion finishes her shift in half an hour. She can't work late. She has a family waiting for her. I'll help out. She laughed. Okay, I'll meet you in the laundry room. She told him where to find it. Joe spent the evening shuffling bath towels and sheets from washing machine to dryer. By 10, they were folding and stacking linens on the cart for Maria's round the next morning. It was 11 before the work was done. Pale with exhaustion, Dinah wished him good night. Joe knew she had to be up and at Marianne's by 8. Neither slept well. Joe prayed far into the night, while Dinah tossed and turned with troubled dreams. She knew Joe wanted to take care of her, and she was half willing to allow him to do so. Yet, she also knew God had something else in mind. Like Joshua, the Lord was telling Dinah to go forth into the promised land, and still she stood on the desert side, afraid to put her feet in the water. It would be so easy to move in with Joe and allow him to take care of her. It was what he wanted to do. She wouldn't have to face her parents. They wouldn't even have to know. She could lick her wounds in private, have the baby, and give it up for adoption. She could have her life back. She could forget the past and start over. Haven't I suffered enough, Lord? The world has crushed me. I'm going to have a child. Isn't that enough? Oh, God. What more do you want from me? Everything. Obey me, and I will establish your family in the promised land. I will set your feet upon the rock. I will bless you for generations to come. Let's continue. I feel so happy. I felt so happy yesterday. I felt close to you again. I'm happy where I am. I can get by. I will give you life abundant. I don't want to go home, Lord. Can't you understand? I don't want to hear them fighting over what I should or shouldn't do. I don't want to know what I don't want to know about what my mother did or what my grandmother did. It was their life, their decisions, their sin. Why should I feel the weight of it? I don't want the burden of their pain. I have enough of my own. You can do all things in me, beloved. Trust and obey. What purpose does it serve, Lord? Tell me, and maybe then I'll do what you want. Trust and obey. It's not that easy. What about Charlie? How can I quit after 3 weeks and leave him in the lurch? What'll he do for a waitress now that Susan is settled in San Francisco? Hire Harvey? Blamed, she arose before dawn and showered. She glanced at Joe's car as she went out, half wishing he hadn't found her. Just when she had come to terms with having the baby, she had to arrive. He had to arrive and remind her of all the other things she needed to consider. Charlie was always at Marianne's by 6, getting everything ready for the new day. He tapped on the window and he let her in. "You early," he had said. "I couldn't sleep," she said, looking for something to do. Charlie's sister had refilled all the salt and pepper shakers, the ketchup, the soy sauce, and mustard. The tables were set with napkins and silverware. The floor was washed and polished. "You sit on stool," Charlie pointed. "I fix you bacon and eggs and some hash browns. My wife not sleep too good when this far along with our son." Remember, Charlie is from Vietnam, so his English is very broken. So that's why he talks like that. "I fix you bacon and eggs and some hash browns. My wife not sleep too good when this far along with our son." "I didn't know you were married, Charlie." "Long time ago in Vietnam. My wife worked for American soldiers in Hue. Cook, cleaner, just like you." She waited quietly, watching him, hoping he would tell her more. "Viet Cong took city, shot my wife. I never knew what happened to my son." He eased her eggs over so as not to break the yolk. He didn't look at her. "I searched for a long time and find nothing. When Americans leave, my family flew to Cambodia. We lived 5 years in camps before we came to America. Too late now to go back and start again. My son be grown man now, if he alive." Her chest ached. "I'm sorry, Charlie." He looked at her. "Why you be sorry? You not there. You do nothing wrong." He scooped her eggs onto a plate, adding bacon, hash browns, a twist of orange, and a sprig of parsley. "I am here. I am free. I have work. I have my brother and sister. I am a rich man. Come, eat." He carried her plate into the dining room and put it on a table by a front window. "Sit, I bring you juice." Tears pickled her eyes. "Thank you, Charlie." He patted her shoulder and walked away. Staring down at the meal, she thanked God for his mercies. "O Lord, in the face of others' suffering, how do you stand my constant whining?" Harvey came and brought 3 friends with him. He ordered his usual coffee while the others had breakfast. All 4 launched into political debate. 2 families popped in at around 8:45 and were followed by 3 more within the next 10 minutes. Marianne came in at 9 and sat at the counter, showing her deference. Charlie served her himself, leaving the cooking to his bigger brother. Charlie and Marianne talked like old friends. Let's continue the reading. Welcome, guys. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm reading this novel called The Atonement Child. So for those of you who are just passing by or just coming in and wondering what in the world I'm doing, well, that's what I'm doing. I'm reading this book, The Atonement Child. So welcome. Welcome into the live. Thank you all so much for coming. All right, let me continue the reading. She want to work, Charlie said after Marianne left. She tell me she misses this place. She has nothing to do. She says she's sick to talk. She's sick of talk shows and soap opera. Welcome to America. Welcome to America, where people who stay home all day do talk shows and soap operas. Dinah knew there wasn't enough work or money to keep both of them busy full time. God was giving her more than a nudge. He was giving her the boot. Joe came in at 9:15. You look like you need a cup of coffee, Dinah said, pot poised as she set a mug before him. What would you like for breakfast? Surprise me, he said, hanging over his mug. Food, the last thing on his mind. He had been praying most of the night, asking God for the desire of his heart. I wonder what that was. Charlie makes great pancakes. Well, that sounds fine. She put in the order. Joe had drained his mug by the time she turned around. She refilled it. I'll go home at the end of the week, Joe. San Francisco isn't instead of Berkeley. So be it, Lord. Joe raised his head and looked at her. I'll go with you when you talk to your parents. I appreciate the offer, Joe, but I have to go alone. I'm not sure what to expect. All the more reason I should be with you. I'll call first and test the waters, and if they are still cold and stormy. Her mouth tipped ruefully. Trust me, Joe, I'm not going to change my mind about having the baby. Joe pushed his coffee cup aside. Promise me something. Call me whatever you do. Make it a once a week thing. I'm not good at guessing what's happening, and I care about you. He couldn't say more than that without adding to her burdens. He held his hand out. Palm up for a high five. Poor Dinah. Poor Dinah. Dinah is having a hell of a hard time. And I feel bad for her. Dinah took his hand in both of hers. Once a week? I promise. Only one thing, Joe. Anything. Her blue eyes lightened with amusement. I need your number. Anna heard the quiet whir of the garage door going up and then closing. Doug was home from the deacon's meeting. She had expected him by 9:30. It was almost 11. Under normal circumstances, she wouldn't have waited up, but Diana had called. Hannah needed to tell him what was coming, prepare him and herself for the future. She needed to pave the way for Dinah. God, soften his heart, please. Give me the words so he will hear me. Open his eyes to the pain he could cause. Her heart thumped as the back door opened. She breathed in deeply through her nose and slowly exhaled through her pursed lips, hoping the technique would calm her down. Doug entered the family room and saw Anna sitting at the swivel rocker, one of his shirts on her lap. She was sewing on a button. He looked at her face, and something deep down inside of him tightened. The meeting went long tonight, she said quietly. The meeting was over by 9, he said, dropping his jacket onto the arm of the sofa. I stayed and talked with Dan. About Dinah? He sat down and rubbed his face. Raking his hands back through his hair, he leaned back in his chair, let out his breath, and looked at her. She called tonight, didn't she? Hannah nodded, her eyes filling with tears. God, I can hardly breathe, let alone tell him what she has decided. Help me, Jesus. Help us. Doug raised his head slightly, and she wants to come back home. Thank God. Hannah swallowed. She wants She wants to have the baby. He shut his eyes. He had just spent 2 hours talking with his partner. He had spilled his guts about Dinah and her part in sending her on the run. Within an hour, Dan had pried the rest out of him. The pain of 27 years had boiled over, and he had wept like a child. Opening his eyes, he looked at his wife. Dan wants to talk with you. About what? He paused. About everything. Her hands whitened as the shirt she was mending. What everything are you talking about? When he didn't say anything, she knew. She could see it in his face. She dropped the shirt into the basket. He could sew his own buttons on. He could wash his own dirty laundry. So that's why this evening went so long, she said quietly. You were busy confessing my sins and absolving yourself. Doug heard the bitterness in her voice and understood it for the first time. I'm sorry, he said simply. I'm sorry, Anna. Sorry about what? Sorry you married me? Sorry I gave you a daughter who got herself raped? Her mouth trembled and the tears came hot. I'm sorry too, Doug. Sorry I ever trusted you. I know the day I told you what I did, nothing would ever be the way I hoped. I gave you the club, and you are beating me with it. You have been beating me with it ever since. I'm sorry I ever trusted you with my love and my life. She saw her words strike deep, and she was glad. She wanted to hurt him. She wanted to annihilate him, just as he had annihilated her countless times with a look or a careless toss of an angry word. How long had she lived under the mountains of these stones? The one good thing I have from you is thy good God. You hear what the husband said to the wife? The one good thing I have from you is Dinah. I thank God for her every day of my life. She's the only thing that makes it worth living. And I'll tell you something else, Doug. I will never, do you hear me? Never take her into another abortion clinic. Rant and rave all you want at me. I don't care. Divorce me, please. Put an end to the hypocrisy. Tell Dan and the whole congregation what a whore you married and what a mistake you made from the beginning. I don't care what you say or do anymore. The only thing I care about is Dinah. She stood. One more thing. If you say one word to her about getting rid of this child, I swear before God, I'll pack and leave you and never forgive you. She walked out of the room. Hey, finally, Anna is swinging out hard at her husband. Mighty God. You see, guys, you see what this is? These two people are Christians, you know, living up themselves and their lives in the church as these godly people. And you all see how when they are at home, the two of them strike at each other. The anger, the hatred, those stinging, painful words that they keep slinging at each other. And then come Sunday morning, they put on them best suit. Come Sunday morning, they put on them best suit and go to church, go and sing and sit down on choir and sit down in front of the people and smile like them their yard live good. They are not alone. Let us continue. Doug turned the light out and sat in the dark far into the night. He prayed. He prayed as he had never prayed before. His ears were open, and the sounds of mourning vibrated in the silence. His eyes could see the shattered pieces of the two people he loved most in the world, and his heart was broken. Oh God, why do we always hurt the ones we love? When the clock chimed 3, he went upstairs to an empty bed. Anna had moved into the guest room. Dinah took the Boonville Road to Cloverdale. She stopped at a Frosty Freeze and had an ice cream cone dipped in chocolate. It brought back fond memories of her childhood and trips north with her parents. She drove through town rather than backtrack to the freeway. I'll be home before I'm ready, Lord. Make me ready. She had dreamed about Dr. Wyatt the night before, a disturbing dream she couldn't quite remember. It was on the edge of her mind, niggling, nudging. His sister died from an illegal abortion. Had he said that in the restaurant, or was she imagining it? She kept remembering the look on his face as he spoke with her. Why did it hurt so much? Lord, he's an abortionist. He's an abortionist. I don't want to go anywhere near him again. Help me protect my child. James Michael Wyatt. She couldn't exercise him. She drove past Healdsburg and Windsor. Traffic was slow going through Santa Rosa, speeding up through Ronens Park and Cotati. After that, she felt as though she was flying towards disaster. What was waiting for her in San Francisco? San Rafael lay up ahead, 5 lanes of traffic narrowing into 3. Why did she have this sick feeling in her stomach? Why was her head pounding so hard? Her vision was blurry at times. Maybe she was hungry. Maybe she should stop and have something to eat. A high green fat freeway sign read East Blythe Gate. Cynthia and I have a place in Mill Valley, she had said. Oh my. Dinah took the off-ramp. The gas tank was half empty and she needed to use the restroom anyway. This seemed as good a place as any to stop. Pulling into a Chevron station, she chose the full-service lane. Her back ached as she got out of the car. An attendant approached. Could you direct me to your telephone? Inside near the back, before you get to the restroom. Thank you. She used the ladies' room first. Her ankles were swollen and her back ached and worsened. Paging through the telephone book, she looked for James Michael Wyatt, MD. He wasn't listed. C. Wyatt was. Cynthia? Cynthia? Maybe it was Cynthia. Cynthia and I have a place in Mill Valley. Jotting down the street address, she went back outside and asked the station attendant for directions. As she got into her car, she grimaced. The attendant leaned down and looked at her. Are you okay, miss? Forcing a smile, she started the car. I'm fine, thank you. She found the house without trouble. It was a 2-story gabbled house in yellow and white. A high, decorative, black iron fence surrounded it with small steel notices warning intruders that a security system was in place. The lawn and shrubbery behind the fence were perfectly manicured. Marigolds, alyssums, and royal salvias were planted in neat rows along the curving walkway to a covered oak door. A large terracotta pot with a neatly pruned miniature Japanese maple stood on the cobbled front steps. Dinah found the button for the intercom by the gate and pressed it. Really? What's Dinah up to? Why is Dinah going to the doctor's house? Is she going to get the abortion privately? But she doesn't want anybody to know? Let's see. Dinah found the button for the intercom by the gate and pressed it. She expected to wait for someone to ask what her business was. Instead, the lock clicked and the gate popped open. Surprised to be admitted so easily, she opened it and went through. As she approached the front door, she could hear the ferocious barking of a big dog somewhere in the house. A little girl opened the door. Hello? Paul says the author is a little Jamaican in them. You think, huh? I'm not sure, but we are going to continue reading. Let's continue. A little girl opened the front door. Hello, Dinah said, and smiled at the adorable child in designer coveralls, a pink t-shirt, and long red pigtails. The little girl smiled back. Hello. Cricket, where are you? Don't open the door, honey. Wait for mommy. OMG, the little cricket opened the door already. Close the door like your mother says, sweetheart, Dinah said. I'll wait. She glimpsed a lovely woman dressed in Levi's and a tank top in the corridor just as the child did, as she told her. At the woman's side was a large black Rottweiler. Waiting on the doorsteps, Dinah could hear the mother speaking firmly to the child behind the door. She sounded distressed and was reprimanding the child for disobedience. A moment later, the door opened again, this time with the woman standing before her, the dog standing guard beside her. I'm sorry, but if you're a solicitor, I'm not buying anything. I'm not, Dinah said. Does Dr. James Wyatt live here? My daddy is a doctor, Cricket piped up, but he's not home now. He will. Go to your room, Patricia. Be here in... Now, Patricia, right now. Patricia's lower lip protruded, but she obeyed. Cynthia Wyatt looked at her, and Dinah smiled. She felt so tired, and she could feel perspiration dotting her forehead. My name's Dinah Carey. I met Dr. Wyatt at... She hesitated, unsure whether this lady would know her husband worked in an abortion clinic. If not, Dinah didn't feel it her place to inform her. In San Francisco. He and my mother went to college together. The woman hesitated, clearly unsure of what to do. Will he be home soon? Dinah asked, faced with the lady's reticence. She seemed uneasy, knowing the fire abortionists had come under in the last few years. Dinah wondered if there wasn't good reason for Dr. Wyatt's caution. What business have you with Dr. Wyatt? None, really. I just wanted to talk to him for a few minutes. He's not here now, and I'm not sure when he'll be back. Dinah stood perplexed. Well, thank you anyway. She turned away. Lord, why did you bring me here? Dinah, I know the Lord bring you there. Now you go there yourself. Now you drive there and go there yourself. Everything will tell life on the Lord. Cynthia watched as the young woman turned away. She looked so sad and ill. She knew she was being less than welcoming. But with the threats James had been receiving, who could blame her? Still, the girl didn't seem at all threatening. Wait, she said on impulse, opening the door wider. Don't go. Come in and sit down. Despite what she had said earlier, she knew Jim should be home soon. He had called her a few minutes ago to tell her he was on his way. Hopefully, the girl's business with him wouldn't take long. As she turned and came back to the door, the Rottweiler barked twice, taking a stance to prevent entrance to the house. Arnold, release, easy, boy. The dog relaxed, but remained watchful as he circled the young woman when she entered the foyer. He sniffed at her skirt. When she extended her hand, Cynthia started to warn her not to touch him, but before she could speak, the young woman bent slightly and began scratching him behind the ears. Yes, I don't know how people. She was lucky the dog was in the house. As she looked at the dog, never bite her. But she put her hand for the people them dog for. Like people just walk up and see a dog and just go touch the dog. When my baby daughter was younger, Oh my God, she loves animals, and especially dogs. As soon as she'd see a dog, she'd run up to the Atuwana, don't do that. Because you're a stranger to the dog. The dog might you holding down your face to the dog. The dog might just grab your face or grab your neck. Like, I'd fight with her for her to stop doing that foolishness. And you know, some people like to stop and have a child pet their dog because they say, oh, my dog is so innocent. Those dogs are unpredictable. The dog will bite a child. I've seen dogs bitten children before and take their lives too. Who that? Sister Lauren. Lauren, what's up? How you doing? Lauren, I still want to know why them snaps stay in the back of that pajama, I know. I still want to know. You need to answer me about that. I need to know. But anyway, oh, no, something like this, I wish won't catch me. But anyway, Paul said the gate opened and there was no one to escort her in. Exactly. There was no one to escort her, but it seems like they keep the dog in the house. You know, and the little girl, Patricia, she's out of order. She's out of line. Somebody rings the bell and instead of getting her mother, she just opens the gate and let the person in. She don't know who the person is. If that was my child, why would when I don't straighten her out? I would have straightened her out so good. You don't do that. Somebody rings the bell. You don't run go open the door. You get your mom. Somebody's at the gate. Let your mom look out and determine whether or not she wants to open the gate. Look up at it, just boom, open the gate. Invite the woman, open the door, let the woman in the house. What if it was a dangerous person? Paul says she don't have no home training. That's true. Two Jamaican licks. And then she was. Oh, she run up open gate and open door and let in somebody she don't even know. And then you know on some little fitness there, somebody come and ask questions. I didn't ask them nothing, you know. Them jump up ready for volunteer information. And nobody not ask them no. Patricia needs some home training for true. It really does need some home training. You know, I'm no behavior. But let us continue. The dog relaxed but remained watchful as he circled the young woman when she entered the foyer. He sniffed at her skirt. When she extended her hand, Cynthia started to warn her not to touch him. But before she could speak, the young woman bent slightly and began scratching him behind the ears. Arnold's stub tail wagged, and he moved closer. Arnold doesn't usually take to people, Cynthia said, surprised that he was treating this young woman like a member of the family. Paul, you might be right. You might be right. Yeah, she's from the other side. That's what is she so rotten. That's why she do such a thing without any consequences. Lord, when I done with her. There she in the corner. Trust me. I like animals. I think they sense that. So it seems, Cynthia said, smiling, all her anxieties evaporating. Why don't you come into the family room? Would you like something to drink? A cup of herbal tea? A glass of water, please, Dinah said, looking around her at the lovely surroundings. The living room revealed a couch, a love seat, and two high-backed wing chairs that made a comfortable grouping around a large polished mahogany coffee table with a floral arrangement. A baby grand piano stood near a wall of plate glass windows, a large potted palm to the left. The drapes were a gorgeous deep rose and green paisley with hints of gold. Everything looked new and had the stamp of professional decorating. The family room was another matter. room was furnished with an overstuffed, slightly worn sofa with 4 needlepoint pillows and a cushioned afghan. Nearby was a recliner. Beside it was a table piled high with medical journals. One wall was covered with family pictures. Another was all bookcases and cabinets. A television was mounted in the center. Big Bird was singing with Cookie Monster. On the floor in the middle of the room was a large circle of denim strewn with Legos. Arnold's, please. Arnold's place, Cynthia commanded. The Rottweiler trotted over and lay down near the cabinets. Lowering his head to his paws, he watched Dinah. Sit down, please, Cynthia said, going over the sliding door to the back door. Todd came inside and cleaned up his Legos. I'm swimming. Dry off and put your things away. Then you can get back in your wading pool. She left the door open as she turned. Make yourself comfortable, Miss Carey. Please call me Dinah. Only if you call me Cynthia. She felt drawn to the girl. Entering the kitchen, she opened a cabinet and took down a glass. Would you like some ice? No, thank you. Dinah sat on the sofa. Just then, Cynthia's son, Todd, came in, wet hair plastered to his head, a towel wrapped around him. Disgruntled as only a young boy can be, he marched across the family room, leaving wet footprints on the carpet. Yet, Paul, the picture them really have the home training for two. Because the picture come in from the pool and walk across the carpet with him wet foot. Like, seriously? Taking hold of the knotted ends of 2 strings, he lifted the circle of denim. With a crash of plastic pieces, it swallowed the Legos and hung like an oversized purse to his arm. He dragged it to the cabinet, opened one, and shoved the plump denim pouch inside. A portion hung out. Nudging it in with his foot, Todd pushed the door closed. Without a glance on either his mother or their guest's direction, he ran back outside again, forgetting to close the sliding screen door behind him. Cynthia laughed and shook her head. That was fun. She handed the glass of water to Dinah. You look pale. Are you feeling all right? I have a headache. That's all. Would you like something for it? I don't know if I should take anything, Dinah said, putting her hands over the bulge of her abdomen. Cynthia understood the protective gesture. I'll get you a cool cloth. Surprise and simple gratitude touched the young woman's features. She thanked Cynthia quietly as Cynthia went to get the cloth. When she returned to the room, Cynthia saw that the girl had finished the water and set the glass carefully on the side table. Cynthia brought the damp cloth to her, watching as Dinah dabbed her forehead and held the cloth over her eyes. I'm sorry to be a bother, she said in a faint voice. No bother. You're right, Paul. I shouldn't stay long, she said, looking up at Cynthia again, uncertainty in her eyes. I'm on my way home. Jim should be here soon, Cynthia said. Why don't you lie down and rest until he gets there? The young lady looked tired, so terribly tired. I need to start dinner anyway. Hunkering down, she untied the girl's ankle boots and helped her slip out of them. She noticed how swollen her feet and her ankles were. So swollen, she doubted the girl would be able to put her boots back on again. Lie down now, she said gently, taking a pillow and putting it beneath Dinah's feet to elevate them as much as possible. Taking up the afghan, she draped it over the girl. Try to sleep if you can. On impulse, She stroked the damp strands of blonde hair back from the girl's forehead. You are very kind to strangers, Dinah said softly. Not usually, Cynthia responded frankly. In fact, under normal circumstances, the door would not have been opened, let alone anyone invited into the house. Jim said looks could be deceiving, and he didn't want to take any chances. Mommy, Patricia called. Can I come out now? Cynthia went down the hallway and shushed her. Yes, you may come out, but the young lady is resting on the sofa. I want you to play outside. Take Arnold with you. I hope you get home soon, Jim, she thought as she watched her daughter skip away. And I hope you can help this poor young girl. Lord Jesus. Our pressure up. Yes, Paul, I think our pressure is up. She has so much on her mind. She's worried about going home to place her parents. She's still contemplating whether or not she should have the abortion. She is worried about herself. She's worried about Joe. She's worried about what the people in the church are going to think. She is so worried. It is unbelievable. So I guess her pressure was high for real. Jim pulled into the garage and punched the remote, closing the door behind him. As he came in the side door, Cynthia met him. She kissed him in greeting and took his medical bag. You look tired. I am. He could feel himself sinking into his Wednesday depression. I'll take a shower and be down in a while. We have company. Who? He didn't feel like entertaining anyone for any reason. Dinah Carey. Dinah Carey? The name sounded familiar, though he couldn't place it. She said she met you in San Francisco. Her mother went to college with you. He remembered and dread filled him. Oh, her mother had put her in timeout. Her mother had put her in timeout because she had opened the door. She opened the gate and she opened the door. Let in the stranger. He remembered and dread filled him. Was she here to ask him to perform a late-term abortion? What matter, Jim? Nothing. He'd do it if the girl asked. Considering the circumstances of her pregnancy, how could he refuse? He would arrange to perform it at the hospital. It would be safer there. Entering the family room, he saw Dinah Carey asleep on his sofa, his dog Arnold lying in guard close by, his children playing quiet games in the middle of the room. They came to him in greeting. Dinah's sleeping, Cricket whispered, a finger to her lips. I'm sorry. Even Todd was cooperative. Her eyes are swollen, Cynthia whispered, and she was perspiring. Oh my God, poor Dinah. Did she complain of cramping? Maybe she'd be lucky and miscarry. No, but she had a headache. Did you give her anything? I offered, but she said she wasn't sure she should take anything. I think she's worried about her baby. Frowning, he nodded. If she was worried about her baby, why had she come to see him? He approached the girl as Cynthia told the children to play in their rooms for a while so Daddy could talk to the young lady. Leaning down, he put his hand lightly on her shoulder. Dinah? She aroused, opened her eyes. She focused on his face. Oh, she said groggily, pushing herself up. She was so tired. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to fall asleep. That's all right. What can I do for you, darling? The sooner she was on her way, the better he would feel about it. She rubbed her forehead, trying to think clearly. She had just had the strangest, strongest dream. What wrong with that and all this dreaming? Raising her head, she looked at him again, sensing his impatience. Clearly, he wished she wasn't there. I know I'm intruding, Dr. Wyatt, but I have to talk with you. About what? Me. Frowning, he waited, tensed. How do you find out where I live? See, Wyatt. The address was in the telephone book. Odd. He knew they weren't listed. But why would the girl lie? Glancing at Cynthia, he saw her shrug. She was as perplexed as he was. Closing her eyes, Dinah prayed, Lord, I need to know if this is you working here. Say through me whatever you have to say to this man. Then let me go. Let me get out of this place and away from this man. My mom and dad are waiting. Watching her face, Jim pulled the hat up close and sat down in front of her. Are you in pain? She opened her eyes. Like his wife, he was concerned. She saw it in his eyes just as she had the first time she had met him. No, not the way you mean. She studied his face for a moment, and while with startling clarity, she knew what he had to say. Would he listen? Would he heed? Would he submit to the word of the Lord? Or would he think she was crazy? It didn't matter. She knew only one thing. She had to obey God, even when it didn't seem to make sense. Dr. Wyatt, you said you began doing what you do because of what happened to your sister. She saw the anguish fill his eyes. She saw too how his wife moved closer in quick defense. A look of horrified pain filled her face. They were both expecting an attack. Miss Carey, Cynthia said stiffly, hoping to stop her. Dinah reached out impulsively and took Jim Wyatt's hands. Think of me as your sister, James Michael Wyatt, brother of Carolyn Cosmo Wyatt. The Lord forgives you. The Lord loves you. How did you know her full name? How did you even know? Her eyes widened, startled, and yet filled with understanding. I didn't know. God did. Yes, so the gentleman is the doctor. He's the abortion doctor. And since you hadn't listened to this story before, but the young girl, Dinah, who was shown up at the house, she was raped, and now she's pregnant from that rape. And she has been contemplating whether or not she should have an abortion. Now, this doctor is friends with her mother, and her mother had taken her to see the doctor to have the abortion, but she had changed her mind at the last minute. And now she has shown up at the doctor's house. Why? I'm not sure. Goose flesh rolled over Jim's entire body, pricking the hair to the top of his head. He felt a presence he couldn't deny. Dinah Carey's hands were warm and strong, and there was a light in her eyes that offered the promise of hope. How long had it been since he had felt hope about anything? Her hands tightened. Please. I think God sent me here to tell you He wants you to turn back to Him. He wants you to be the doctor He meant you to be, to believe you want to help women. And so I'm asking you, I'm pleading, help me please, Dr. Wyatt, help me have this baby. Pierced, he couldn't breathe. The message delivered, her appeal made, Dinah felt at peace. She saw in Jim Wyatt's eyes that God's plead had been received, and joy grew inside her until she felt filled with it. He was removed. He has removed our rebellious acts as far away from us as the east is from the west. She whispered. Yes, he said softly. Oh God, yes, please. And in that moment, James Michael Wyatt felt the burden of years of sin lifted like a dense fog, evaporating. Above shone blue heavens. Is she all right? Hannah said, her voice trembling, full of pain. She's at risk right now, Jim said, trying to be reassuring and firm at the same time. She's going to stay with us for a few days. She needs bed rest and a special diet. We'll see to everything, Hannah. I don't want you to worry. How could she not? Does she still want the baby? Oh, yes, he said with a soft voice. How long since he had felt so light he could fly? He knew it came from being a part of bringing life into the world rather than taking it. She wants the baby very much. That's why we are taking these precautions. You are the last person I would have expected to ask for help, Anna said, and he heard the loss and rejection in her tone. Considering where you found me in the last few weeks, I can understand that. I swear to you, I swear on my life, I won't do anything to harm Dinah or her child. I'll do everything I can to safeguard her and the baby. Okay. And there won't be any expense. Whatever comes, I'll take care of it. What happened to you, Jim? Redemption. He couldn't speak for a moment. Dinah brought me a message, one I've been waiting to hear since I lost my sister. There was a pause. Then, may I talk to my daughter? She'll call tomorrow morning. Right now, I've ordered her to bed. Cynthia is bringing her dinner. Dinah said she wasn't sure you and her dad agreed with her decision, and I don't want her upset about anything. You can tell Dinah I support her completely in her decision to have the baby. And Doug, her father, will stay out of it. The response was firm and cold. What about the clinic, Jim? Are you still working there? He wondered if she meant for the sarcasm to seep through. I've made 2 calls this morning, one to Elizabeth Chambers, tendering my resignation, the second to you. I'm sorry, it's just that. She broke off, but the implication was clear. She had sinned less than he had. She had killed only her baby. He had killed hundreds, thousands. He has removed our rebellious acts as far away from us as the east is from the west. He closed his eyes in gratitude. Thank you, God. Thank you. I understand, Jim said quietly. Believe me, Anna, I understand. His life had made a complete about-face turn. In the last hour, he was free. After so many years, he could scarcely take it in. He gave her the address and telephone number. If you and Doug want to come up, feel welcome. Our house is open to both of you at any time. OMG. So Dinah, come convince the doctor that God sent her to tell him to start the abortions. Okay. All right. Let me read one more chapter. Before we call it quits for the night. Hannah hung up the telephone, her fingers trembling. Redemption, Jim had said. Anna wanted to be happy for him, but found herself feeling jealous instead. If he could find redemption, why couldn't she? And why was Dinah with him instead of her parents? The irony of the situation struck Hannah's heart. She supposed she couldn't blame Jim for his suspicions. After all, she was the one who had brought Dinah in to the abortion clinic. She turned and saw Doug standing in the archway between the family room and the kitchen. Stay out of what? He asked, watching her carefully. Nothing, she said rigidly, letting her anger show clearly in his eyes. Your briefcase is in the family room, where you left it last night. His eyes narrowed slightly. Whether from pain or anger, she didn't know, and clearly she didn't care. She was past caring what he thought about anything. Was that about Dinah? Yes. She looked at him, her mouth tipping into a bitter smile. She's staying with Jim Wyatt. Who is Jim Wyatt? An old friend from college days. Her eyes were hot, challenging. Go ahead, Doug. Ask me if he was one of my lovers. Wasn't I supposed to have had a drove of them? He let it pass. How does she know him? He's a doctor. We ran into him at the clinic when we went there. The other day. The abortion clinic? Funny, isn't it, Doug? Our daughter wants to save her baby. And where does she go for help? To him. She couldn't come home to us, could she? Not knowing how you feel about the thing she carries. Turning away, Anna went into the family room. She stood with her arms across herself, fighting for control. She felt as though she was drowning in a storm-tossed sea. Doug went to the notepad near the telephone and tore off the top sheet, stuffing it into his pocket. He went for his briefcase. I might be home late. Take your time. Turning slightly, she glared at him. In fact, I don't care if you take the rest of your life. Doug walked through the family room and out the back door. Joe? Joe's heart jumped at the sound of Dinah's voice. Hey, kiddo, how are you doing? Better. I'm not home yet, but I'll be there soon. Are you still at Port Bragg? No, I'm staying with friends in Mill Valley. She gave him the telephone number and address. Jim's a doctor, so you don't have to wonder if I'm getting proper care. Do your folks know where you are? She was quiet so long, he was afraid he'd lost the connection. Dinah? They know. Daddy called this morning. And I need you to pray for them, Joe. I don't know if they are going to make it through this. Evie returned from an afternoon Bible study to find a message on her answering machine. Mom, Dinah called. She's coming home in a few days. Right now, she's under the care of a doctor. She's decided to have the baby. Sitting down in her swivel rocking chair, Evie wept in relief. She sat there for a long time, hands covering her face, allowing the news to sink in and revive her spirit. She had been so afraid for Dinah, so afraid for Hannah and Doug, and all the rest who didn't understand the destructive effects of a single decision. Oh God, only you are faithful. Hannah gave Dinah to you before she was even born, as did I. Bring her through this, O Lord. Bring her through for all of us. Give us a handful. Draw us up out of the pit we have dug for ourselves. O God, help us climb towards the light above and not fall into the darkness below. The telephone rang. Scrubbing her tears from her face, Evie rose and answered, disgruntled at the interruption. Is everything all right? Nosy old coot. Everything's fine, Gladys. Why are you calling me again? I don't know. We talked this morning. So what? We can't talk now? You are turning into a pet. Don't be such an old crab. Look who's talking. What's up? I'm going to be heading south again. You are turning into a yo-yo, Evie. Well, when I bob back up, I hope I'll have Dinah with me. She's home. She's on her way. She's going to have the baby. Good for her, Gladys said, with a tilt in her voice. Then, more solemnly, are you okay? Wow, guys, this book is. Let me see if there is. If that's the end of a chapter. Oh, that's not. Just another paragraph to go. I think I will be. She was shaking inside, her throat tight. Finally, what do you say we get the girls together? They don't know the whole story. Maybe it's time they did. Uh-uh. So Dinah is going to have the baby. I hope she isn't having a miscarriage. She's at the doctor. She's at Dr. Wyatt's house. And he's caring for her, but I hope she isn't having a miscarriage. Or I hope she does. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like nature needs to intervene before Dinah because nothing else will. And I know she might be capable of loving the child that she carried, even though the circumstances of the conception were so horrific. But at the same time, I wish she would have a miscarriage. But anyway, it's not it's not for me to call. I sincerely appreciate everybody who has come into this live reading of the book The Atonement Child. I hope you all enjoyed the reading as much as I enjoyed reading it for you, for us. I sincerely appreciate you guys. Those of you on the tube, those of you on the top, I sincerely appreciate you. That's where we are going to end for tonight. All lives from me and from my channel for tonight. This is where we are going to end. Until next time, my friends. This is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters. Join me again tomorrow morning at around 4 o'clock when we will do the Bible reading first, and then we will read. No, I'm thinking. No, I do the Bible reading tomorrow morning on the channel, and then tomorrow night when I come home, maybe around 10-ish, I will do the story for about an hour. Yes, I like the story in the nighttime. I like the Bible in the morning and the story at night. Paul, you get your bedtime story. I hope you sleep well, my love. Oh my gosh, I saw my sister Michigan just swing by. How are you doing, sugar? Good to see you. Yes, I know I'm going to probably be tired, but I probably will take a drink of coffee. I don't drink coffee really, but sometimes on a very rare occasion, I might take a sip. And it might revive me enough to read the story. Are you saying I should read the story in the morning? Well, I could. I could read the Bible from 4 to 5 and then read the story from 5 to 5:30 and then get myself together to go to work. 30 minutes of the story is good to get you all off on your day. Thank you for the likes and the love, guys. I sincerely appreciate you all. Whatever your beverage is, I can drink something. I don't know. I drink a turmeric latte each morning. Mela is here. How are you doing, my love? How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. What is this? Mela, give you one crane. I see a little paper thing on this, jump up on the screen just now, guys. Never understand. Thank you, Mela. I don't even understand. Guys, I really need to learn this TikTok thing, I really need to learn it. I don't understand all this thing. I see a little thing. It said, Mela sent you a paper crane. Thank you for the paper crane. Thank you very much, my love. Just no alcohol before reading the Bible. I want to tell Paul, I don't drink alcohol. And as a matter of fact, I cannot handle alcohol. One sip and I am gone. Just a sip and I am gone. When I drink alcohol, my love. Yeah. I'm gonna wake up at 4, read the Bible until 5, and then do the story just for you, Paul. Then I'll do the story for you for 30 minutes. Mele said, have a good night. Have a good night, my dear. Sending love. Thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate it. Paul sent donuts. Paul sent me a donut. Thank you for a donut. Even though I'm gonna eat donuts. Thank you for a donut. What do I send you? What should I send you? I don't know. I don't understand the TikTok up here. Honestly speaking, I don't understand it, but I thank you all, guys. We'll understand it one day. Have a great night, my love. Have yourself a great night, Justina. Good night to you guys. This is the end of the live for tonight. About half a dozen, me send you. Half a dozen what? Donuts? Oh, thanks. Thank you. Then me never see them see it all along. Thank you very much. Card, what's up? I must say, me eat donut. Me never see it. Next time, send me 2 mango. Oh. I saw Aki with some breadfruit. Oh my word. But anyway, guys, I think that's going to be it from me for tonight. Alright? Make me don't want to leave, but I'm going to have to leave. The only way for me to come back is for me to leave. So I gonna leave and come back again tomorrow morning. Alright, my friends. Have yourselves a great night, everybody. Sleep tight, guys. And I'll see you in the morning. Me shut off this now. Me always know how to shut off. How to shut off the live. Hold on. I look around somewhere, so if I touch it, so. And no. Queer. God's child is here. God's child, how you doing, my love? Welcome. Good to see you. Queer. How many things say? Lord Jesus. The things that will come off of the live, The things that will come off of the live. How you doing? How you doing, God's child? Good to see you. Lord have mercy on them people here. God's child, yeah, the life is just about over. Me not cut it off yet. What is? I just how this how them say. But just anytime I say me join something and watch me, I come and join now. TikTok send me something and so. And say me fi join. And say me fi join watch a people. Over TikTok, me get TikTok say me get 405 diamonds. I want them there. What am I to do with them? Me never understand them something here. Not much people reply to me and talk to me. People me don't even know. Oh, choke. Oh, some see more people sometimes on the life. I have no idea. All the man at Facebook so familiar. I'm looking same day in North Carolina. Oh, you say yeah? You say I have no idea. I don't understand this. What is how many so many phone calls? This. What is say? Oh, what is? Oh, the cash up. They alert me. Oh well. Oh well. Me don't know how to do add details about your life. I love. consistently can help you. I don't know what is something about me for ad life. What? Well, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. Describe. Why do I have to put a gift? I don't need to put no gift. I don't understand this. Okay. Other gift. What is hypocrite? Uh, Alright, man, I'll go back on live tonight, so I don't care what they must send me. I'll send me them something. But anyway, me don't know, guys. Me I go all a fresh. Me go come back. And yeah, not come back. Me not coming back for them. Me all a fresh and time. So I'll see you all later. Okay, guys. Have yourself a great night again.